Okay, everybody, welcome to our Google World Cup 2015 Hangout. I'm Gavin Larson. I was lucky enough to play 3 Cricket World Cups, 92, 96 and 99. I'm the host for a few minutes with Mike Hussey, who's got to duck off shortly, and then we're with Lee Germon, who was captain of the New Zealand 96 World Cup team, and we'll have some quality time with Lee. Mike Hussey, Cricket World Cups 2007, 2011. You were present today, mate, at the Aussie launch. How did it all go, Mike?
Oh, it was a fantastic day. We've had plenty of media interest over here. The announcements of all the games and where they're going to be played, like I'm sure what's happening in New Zealand. Yeah, a lot of interest, and we've had some past players here with Dennis Lillee and Ian Chappell, Adam Gilchrist, so there's been plenty of old stories being told about great World Cup performances over the years. Yeah,
a few fibs and lies, I'm sure, mate. It must have been nice to rub shoulders with a few of your old buddies.
Yeah, no, it was excellent. We actually caught up for dinner the night before, and it was a little hard waking the old boys up the next morning, but no, it was brilliant. You know, they've got some great stories to tell. Really enjoyed their company, and I think it's going to be a fantastic tournament. The World Cup final at the MCG again, like back in '92. Hopefully we can get close to 100,000 people, and it would be great if it was an Australia-New Zealand final.
Yeah, it certainly would, Mike. There'd be no arguing on either side of the Tasman. That would be sure, mate. So what are your earliest memories of World Cups, Mike? Take us back a few years.
Well, probably the '92 World Cup was my first memory. Previous to that, when Australia probably won in India back in '87, I remember the team running around the ground with Alan Border as captain. That's probably my number one memory. But then got right into it when the World Cup was played here in Australia, watching the final with Pakistan and England when Wasim Akram bowled so well and cleaned up the Poms. That's probably where my World Cup sort of dream was started. You know, it'd be great to be part of a World Cup. Thinking, you know, and that was a big motivating force behind, you know, watching that final at the MCG.
Well, you played a couple. What are your most vivid memories? You know, 2007 and 2011.
Well, 2007 is probably one of the biggest highlights of my career. We played in, you know, we had a great team at the time. We had so many legendary players like Hayden and Gilchrist and Ponting, Glenn McGrath, but we also had a lot of unsung heroes, guys like Nathan Bracken and Brad Hogg, who just performed so well throughout the tournament. And I don't think I've been part of an Australian team that's executed their skills so well over the course of that tournament. And being such a big tournament like the World Cup, it's where probably the best teams and the best players are measured, you know, on and how you rate it. And so to be able to put it all together in that 2007 World Cup and come away with a win was, a huge highlight. 2011 probably wasn't as successful for the team, but nonetheless it was really enjoyable. And unfortunately we were stopped by India, who obviously went on to win the tournament and played so well.
Oh, some good memories there, Mike. Let's hey, look forward to 2015 now, and yeah, look, I guess, you know, all sports, all teams, they ebb and flow, and at the moment it's probably fair to say that this Australian team is just ebbing a little bit rather than flowing. How do you think they're, you know, going to shape over the next 18 months? I'm guessing that's a really important period in terms of their development as they look forward to this World Cup.
Yeah, well, I think the good thing is we've got time. We've got time to really build over the next 18 months, but we can't afford to waste too much time in there as well. And I'm sure it's going to come around extremely quickly, and you know, the World Cup will be on our doorstep before we know it. So I think we've got to really identify pretty quickly who the players are that we think are going to be around in 2015. Really invest a lot of time and effort and patience and faith into these guys, and really believe in them, and then hopefully get ourselves a game plan that we believe can be competitive. You know, at the 2015 World Cup, it's going to be a challenge. Yeah, we've been through some tough times, but I know the guys are hurting at the moment, and I'm sure they're going to bounce back as quickly as possible.
Yeah, Mike, 18 months is, I mean, it's a heck of a long time in cricket terms, and there's a lot of water to flow under the bridge. But, you know, if you were to give us 2 or 3 names of young fellas that you think, you know, could be bolters or fellas that you think could have a major impact for Australia at this World Cup, you know, who would you let us know about?
Oh, it's a good question. I like the look of two guys that sort of are just starting out a little bit. As Ashton Agar made his debut in the Ashes series. He's a fantastic talent. Obviously, he's only 19 years of age, and he hasn't played a lot of first-class cricket. So I think over the next 18 months, we've got to try and get in as much cricket into him as possible. But he's a great package. Left-arm spinner, turns the ball away from the right-handers is always handy to have. He's a very good batsman, and he's a gun in the field. So he's a very good package. But the thing that I really like about him is that he doesn't get fazed by the big occasion. He's got a very level head on his shoulders and won't get affected by the pressure of international cricket. And the other one I like the look of is Pat Cummins. He's played one test. He's had a lot of injury problems. But if he can get himself fit and bowling well in the next the next 18 months, I could see him coming in and doing a great job for Australia for hopefully a long period of time.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, no, good young talent. And we'll talk to Germ shortly about some of our young talent here in New Zealand. Just a final question before you need to duck off. Mate, just looking forward to that 2015 tournament. 18 months, as I said, is a long time, but what about early favourites or teams that you think, at this early stage just might, be the early front runners?
It's really difficult to say, particularly 18 months out. And I know Ian Chappell made the comment today at the launch here in Australia that it's probably the most wide open World Cup that we've seen in quite a period of time, which makes it even more exciting. I think looking at the pools, I'm pretty happy with the pool that Australia's in. I think it's probably slightly easier than maybe the other pool, but there's no such thing as an easy World Cup match. It's hard to pick a favourite at the moment. I think it's too far out, and the teams are reasonably even, I think, in one-day cricket at the moment.
Yeah, good. No, look, mate, I totally agree, actually, and that was probably an unfair sort of question, wasn't it? Hey, listen, Mike, thanks so much for joining us on this Google Hangout. Thanks for fronting today at the Australian launch. I know it went down fantastically well, as it did over here in New Zealand, and mate, all the very best to you for what's happening in terms of your new chapter in life.
Well, good on you. Thanks very much for your time. Look forward to meeting up with you many times, before the World Cup, but hopefully we can all be involved in the World Cup in 2015.
Good on you, mate. Thanks so much, eh?
Cheers. See you later. All
right, ciao. Lee Germon, we might bring you in, mate. How you going there, buddy?
No, I'm good, Gav. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Well, everyone, this is Lee Germon. Lee Germon's current role is that of CEO of Canterbury Cricket. Lee's had a very interesting sort of year behind him in terms of the redevelopment of Hagley Oval, and we'll come to that shortly. But first of all, Lee, what were your immediate sort of thoughts after today's launch here in New Zealand?
Oh, incredibly exciting, Gavin, to be part of the launch, and just as Michael has spoken about the past players that were part of it over in Australia, we had the same situation where we had, legends such as yourself, Gavin Larson, Stephen Fleming, Sir Richard Hadley ran the cutter up on stage. It was hugely exciting, and then I think for New Zealand, for it to be unveiled and for New Zealand to see and hear that we are going to have 21 or 22 matches as part of the pool play, a quarter-final and a semi-final, it's just incredibly exciting for us.
Yeah, I totally agree, Lee. And for New Zealand to have received a very fair and equitable split of the matches, 50-50 in terms of the pool games, 3 quarter-finals across in Australia, one here in Wellington, and a semi-final on each side of the Tasman, the final at the MCG. It truly is a really true Trans-Tasman World Cup, isn't it?
Oh, it is, and I think all teams play in Australia and New Zealand. We see New Zealand play Australia here. We have to go across the Tasman. I just think it's going to be wonderful. We're 18 months out. I think Mike's right in terms of it's a bit hard to pick the early favourites, but it's as I say, it's going to be a wonderful event for both Australia and New Zealand.
Now, mate, let's put a Christchurch and a Canterbury hat on, because you must be very, very proud and I guess almost honoured in a way to have been part of the launch today, and I've heard that Christchurch receive 3 World Cup matches. You will host New Zealand, Sri Lanka, you'll host Pakistan, West Indies, you'll have England and the 3rd qualifier. Some marvellous teams there. You'll have the opening game of the World Cup being played, hopefully in Christchurch, and also you'll have warm-ups. You know, all contingent, of course, on Hagley Park getting across the line. We'll come to that in a minute, but you must have just loved hearing all that news today.
Oh, brilliant. You know, we couldn't have wished for any more, and we put a bid in which we thought presented our best bid possible, our best foot forward. But for Christchurch to receive the news that we will not only be part of the Cricket World Cup in 2015, but a significant part of the Cricket World Cup, it was absolutely huge. It will do wonders for our city that is still recovering from the earthquakes. We're still in a major rebuild phase of the city. There's cranes all over the city. There's buildings being demolished left, right and centre. But this is a real glimmer, more than a glimmer of hope for our city, that we can not only be part of the Cricket World Cup, but have the opening game. And I think it will do wonders for our people, for our sport and for our city.
Yeah, well, mate, as the cricket operations manager for the World Cup for New Zealand, I simply can't wait to get down to Christchurch and be part of, pulling the infrastructure together to ensure that we run some really good games of cricket at Hagley Park. In terms of the Environment Court sort of hearing that you've just been through, what can you sort of offer us in terms of the process? I know it's been a difficult period for you, and we've all got our fingers crossed, but where are we at in that process, Lee?
Well, first of all, I mean, we haven't had an international in Christchurch since 2011, where it's a one-day international. Haven't had a test match since, I think, 2008, and the earthquakes demolished the old Lancaster Park and also another ground we had, QE2. So we've now gone down the track of developing Hagley Oval, and our vision is that Hagley Oval is the best boutique ground in the world. We'll have a capacity of 12,000 with the grass banks, 20,000 with seating there. So we've now gone through the process of trying to obtain a resource consent. The Environment Court has gone for a month, and we're hopeful by the end of next week we'll get a decision out of the Environment Court that will enable us to push the button, build this ground, which we hope will be one of the most beautiful grounds in the world, and get going on it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful ground for sure. Hey, let's focus a little bit on yourself and your cricket and the '96 World Cup that you were part of, and you're a teammate of mine, my skipper. Great memories?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I recall the opening ceremony. I think we went to Calcutta, Gav, for the opening ceremony. I might be wrong there, but I think we went there. It was just an honour to be part of the Cricket World Cup, and obviously for me to captain the side was a huge honour. And I remember our very first game against England. We played against a side that was captained by Michael Atherton. Graham Hick was in the team. A side probably that we may not have been fancied to beat. We managed to beat them in the first game. And then we went through the round robins, had some tough games against South Africa, who were led by Hussey at that time. Had Alan Donald, White Lightning in their lineup, and Sean Pollock. Faced Pakistan, who had Waqar and Wasim as part of their lineup. Difficult games, and we managed to get through to the quarter-final against Australia in Chennai, in front of around about 50,000 people. Some of our guys got injured. I think, Gav, you might have been one of them. You pulled something.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me about that, Lee.
The swimming pool, I think. And we were a bit short on experience with yourself, and Danny Morrison, I think, was out as well. And I remember Glenn Turner, our coach, sitting us down and saying, well, in order to win this game, he thinks we have to score 350, which was quite a lot of runs to score in those days. But we set ourselves up to do that. We got to 280. Chris Harris scored a magnificent 130. And then Mark Waugh got 100 and took the game away from us, and we lost the quarter-final. But great memories, Gav. It was huge to be part of that, and also to be in India, which embraced that World Cup so well. I'm hopeful that we can embrace the World Cup the way that India have done previously.
Yeah, you painted a beautiful picture actually of that quarter-final, but I think you do yourself a disservice by not mentioning your own innings that you played. If my memory serves me right, you and Harry came to the pitch when we were, 40 or 50 for 3. And what did you score that day, Lee? Come on, let's bring it out.
I don't keep statistics, Gavin, like Sir Richard. I managed to get my top score in international cricket, which wasn't hard. I got 89, and I think Harry and I put on quite a few, to be honest. Look, it was interesting, Gavin, because I remember, I think it was Steve Waugh or Mark Waugh saying after that game that they'd analysed every member of the New Zealand team, The only two they hadn't spoken about because they didn't think there'd be any trouble for them was Chris Harris and Lee Germon, and we managed to put on the partnership. So that was quite amusing. But look, it was just a shame to lose that match, really.
Yeah, no, it was a shame, and believe me, mate, watching from the stands with Danny Morrison, I think we both had popped our calves. Yeah, that was tough viewing, I must admit. I do remember Harry after scoring his 130, and you summarised this beautifully at the launch today. He was so spent after that innings, which I think would have been played in over 30 degrees of heat, and he just literally sat in the cold shower for half an hour, didn't he, through that lunch break?
He was like a little lizard, wasn't he, old Harry? He struggled with his health at the best of times. But he batted for age. Look, early in his innings, he got pinned by Glenn McGrath, and the Australian lineup in that day was McGrath, Damien Fleming, Paul Rifle, Shane Warne, so it wasn't a bad bowling lineup. And Glenn McGrath pinned Harry early on, and it was almost like that jolted him into action, and then he, I think, hit Glenn McGrath for 6 over square leg not long after that, and played out of his skin, but he was spent. I think it was 40 degrees, it was close to 100% humidity. It was very close, the atmosphere, and he went and sat in the cold shower, I think, for half an hour. And then we wheeled him out onto the park for the second innings, and I think, it wasn't very fair of me. I think I bowled him 10 overs in a row, and he limped through and only went for 41. But that showed the quality of Chris Harris.
Yeah, no, we certainly, we had a useful team, without doubt. We've got a great pedigree, I guess, the Black Caps, haven't we, of making, in particular, semi-finals. We made the quarter in '96. So if we roll forward to 2015 and we crystal ball gaze a little bit and we look at our current Black Cap team, if you were to assess the players, the skill sets, and I know 18 months is a long time, do you think we've got the resources here, in terms of our New Zealand team to push forward and actually maybe even progress past a semi-final?
Well, who knows? But what I would say is that I'm very positive about the players we have in the mix. We've got quite a young squad when you look particularly at our bowling lineup, Gav, and you know more about this than I do. But the Trent Bolts, the Mitchell McClenachans of this world, the Tim Southeys of this world are young men still learning their craft on an upward trajectory. They bode well for, I think, New Zealand cricket's future. And we've got some dangerous players who hopefully will still be around come the World Cup. Brendan McCullum and Ross Taylor are two world-class players. Martin Guptill's got an excellent short-form one-day track record. So I think we're actually moving in the right direction. Recently we've beaten both South Africa and England, the number 1 and 2 ranked teams in their home conditions. We'll be playing at home. There's extra pressure there, as you know, but I think we've got a really good side, a good squad. You only need a team to gather momentum, and anyone can win the tournament. But I'm hopeful that we will be able to go one step further and at least make the final.
Oh, well, Lee, that's a tremendous sort of positive note to end this Google Hangout on. And thanks so much for joining us today. All the very best in your role as CEO at Canterbury Cricket. And again, congratulations today. You must be thrilled with the allocation of matches for Christchurch.
Cheers, Gav. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.